October 6th. Thank you, Rachel. The meeting of the Public Works and Planning Commission to order. I need to, as usual, make this following statement, which I will need a motion and a second. This meeting of the Public Works and Planning is being conducted electronically pursuant to Governor Bill Lee's Executive Order number 16. I would ask for a motion that conducting this meeting electronically is necessary to protect the public health, safety, and welfare in light of the coronavirus. I need a motion?
So move.
And a second? All right, Mr. Blair, second. Rachel, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sherino?
Yes.
Chairman Cush?
Yes. Do we need to have a roll call, or have you already got that handled? Okay, fantastic. All right, do we have minutes to approve? All right, may I call on Vice Chair Steve Piercy for the minutes?
I have reviewed the minutes, Chairman Cush, and I find them all to be in order, and I move for their approval.
Fantastic. Do we have a motion for, second, I'm sorry.
Second.
All right, Mr. Blair. Rachel, will you call the roll again, please?
Commissioner Dodd? Yes. Commissioner Piercy?
Yes?
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sherino?
Yes.
Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Chairman Cush?
Yes. All right. Mr. Brooks, you and company, if you'd like, would come up and do the Highway Department report. It's optional. Yeah.
Right. I'm that far off the ground. Good evening, everyone. I have a few things for your consideration tonight. All of these were approved at the road board meeting, so I think they're loaded on your iPad, so I don't know if I have them in order or not, but the first thing I have is a drainage easement.
Yes.
Did you see that?
Yep.
Okay. This is a little PW project we're going to do where the end of a culvert under Stewart's Creek Road got covered up, and it directed some water towards a home. So we're going to go in and uncover that and create a little bit of a ditch back to a creek. It's a temporary construction easement. It will expire in 6 months, I believe. It's standard PWS stuff. It's nothing.
Motion to approve.
We need a second? I'm going to have a second. May I ask how that culvert got covered up? Do you know?
Well, I think one of the previous property owners, homeowners, covered it up, doing some landscaping.
Ah, okay.
It happens.
Yeah. But the new owner knows not to do that, and
Oh, yeah.
everything's
Yeah.
good? Okay.
Yeah, the new owners, yeah.
Okay. All right. Rachel, will you call roll, please?
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes?
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Sherino?
Yes.
Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Chairman Cush?
Yes.
Actually, just one more thing on that.
Yeah.
Our PW engineer, Ben Friend, went out and was investigating a complaint about too much water going in the wrong direction, and he's the one that discovered that this culvert had been stopped up, so covered up. So he did a good job there on his detective work.
So attaboy to Ben.
Attaboy to Ben.
There you go.
Correct. All right, and next I have a speed limit request for Jones Road. Do you see that one?
Our next one is Plainview and Sledge.
All right, we'll do that one. That's fine. Okay. This is something that I requested at the board meeting. We are doing the road improvements, as you're well aware, around the new school site. out in the Plainview area. And our design engineer has designed all those road improvements for 30-mile-an-hour speed limit. Currently, those primary roads out there, Epps Mill Road, Sledge Road, Plainview Road, all have different speed limits, but we're going to go ahead and move those to 30 miles an hour because that's what they will become at some point. And with all the construction work that we're doing out there, the speed reduction is needed. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. So again, Epps Mill Road is currently 30 miles an hour, so there won't be a change there. But Plainview Road does not have a posted speed limit, so we're moving it to 30. And then Sledge Road is currently 40, and we're reducing it to 30 as well.
All right.
Move to approve. Second.
All right. Rachel?
Commissioner P.,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner Blair,
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd,
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Chairman Cush.
Yes.
All right, next will be Jones Road. Is that what you guys have?
Yes.
Okay. Now, just a little history. Typically, when we have a speed limit reduction request, it's by a citizen or a group of citizens or an HOA. The one we just talked about was due to a design. So we did that kind of administratively and did not ask for a recommendation from the sheriff's office, which is what we typically do. Ask for a recommendation when we get a request for a speed limit reduction. We ask for a study by the sheriff's department. They're very receptive to those, and they do a good job on getting back to us with those. So this Jones Road right here came to us from an officer at the sheriff's department. And you should see a note from Sergeant Michael Rogers. Should be in your iPad as well.
Yes.
So they have asked us to make this adjustment to Jones Road, and given the amount of traffic that is there now and certainly on its way, there's a lot of new rooftops coming to that area, Midland, Jones, out through there. So we think this is well warranted. We're going to reduce it to 35 miles an hour.
Motion to approve. Second.
All right. Mr. Blair's the second.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner Blair,
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd,
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Commissioner P.,
Yes.
Chairman Cush.
Yes.
Okay, now this is a little more complicated. I don't know what you have, if anything, but out on Shores Road near Veterans Parkway, there is a new, which is all up in the 840 corridor. There's some new development up there, West Lawn Subdivision, West Lawn, I guess, Business Park or whatever. That's where they're going to do one of the things they're doing there is adding a small community hospital. I'm sure you've all heard about that. Mm-hmm. It's a micro hospital. It's a new concept to me, but I think it's a great idea. But anyway, so there is going to be some realignment, reconfiguration of the existing Shores Road. Some of Shores Road currently exists in the city. Some of it currently exists in the county. But because they're going to realign it and bring it out on Veterans Parkway at a signalized intersection, a new signalized intersection, which will be, a great thing, but that's going to require a segment of Shores Road that exists in the county to be renamed, and that name will line up with the subdivision that intersects the new segment of Shores Road. That distance between where Shores Road exists now and where it will turn and go through West Lawn, everything to the east from that point to the current city limits will still be a county road, but it will be maintained and overseen by the city with a maintenance agreement. This is not unprecedented. We already have those already is. It is similar to the Southwest Loop Agreement, if you're familiar with that created some of Joe B. Jackson Veterans Parkway. It's also, we have the same type of maintenance agreement on Asbury Road, where there was some development out there that the city had to, a development that was going on in the city required some really deep sanitary sewer and storm sewer, and it was going to be in our right-of-way. So they signed up for the maintenance moving forward, perpetually, forever and ever. So they didn't want to annex it for whatever reason, just the climate wasn't right, the time wasn't right, or whatever, but they are going to maintain it forever. So that maintenance agreement has been going back and forth between our county attorney's office and the city attorney's office. The scope of that agreement has been settled on. Some of the legalese of that agreement still is redlined. I believe that once our county attorney's office has the opportunity to review what the city attorney has sent back to us, then I think that it will be the final draft, the final document. If there is any changes, it will just be in some of the verbiage, not in the scope. If there is any change in the scope, then I'll have to come back to you and talk to you some more. But the reason I'm talking to you about that tonight is because we really need, this maintenance agreement was approved by the city council last Thursday night. And the new segment of road that will become Shores Road, that's going to the signalized intersection, is completed. The only thing they haven't done is make the tie-in from our existing Shores Road to the new Shores Road. And they're ready to do that. They're there. So all they're waiting on is this document to be signed. So what has to happen, my understanding of what has to happen is this. Well, first of all, the road board has given me the permission to proceed with this, to bring it to you in an effort to get it moved on to the full 21. Because this document will require the mayor's signature, and my understanding is the full 21 has to authorize that signature. So that's what we're trying to do. So between tonight and the commission meeting on 15th, 16th?
15.
We're going to ask our legal department to review the document one last time so that when it gets to the commission, it's the final draft, hopefully. And that way the Mayor Ketron can get it signed and they can proceed on with this connection while the weather's still good. Because if it doesn't go in October, then we're into November, middle of November. And we all know this is 2020. There's no telling what the weather's going to be in November.
Is there a diagram that we could take a quick look at?
I'm sorry?
Is there a diagram?
There is. That is an excellent question, Mr. Blair.
He said send it to full commission, but it would just be majority. Yeah. You meant to say send it to full commission for vote. It doesn't have to be all 21 vote. it's a full, simple majority. Yeah.
I just meant
Send it to full commission.
full commission, yes. I'm sorry. So, now we have the diagram, let's start over. Shores Road, do you see the letter A on Veterans Parkway? The letter A is where Shores Road currently ties into Veterans Parkway. It's a little deceiving there. It looks like it goes straight, but it does not. It turns back and it ties in to Veterans Parkway currently at the letter A. The part of this map that you have that is in yellow is city limit. So Shores Road at Veterans Parkway, the first few hundred feet, probably less than a couple of hundred feet there actually, already exist in the city. All right, and then if you follow Shores Road to the west, you will see the letter C. Everybody see the letter C? Mm-hmm. That's where Shores Road will turn to the northeast and go out at the new signalized intersection at the letter B. So that will be Shores Road moving forward. Now, if you see the letter D right there and F, that's the section of Shores Road that will be renamed, and it will become Birch Street, which if you look straight across into the city limits. So from the beginning of construction, which is at letter E, to the end of construction, which is near letter F, that will be the city maintenance area of Shores Road that is currently in the county road book and will remain in the county road book, but it will be renamed and it will be maintained by the city. I hope that's clear, but if you got any questions, I'll try my best to answer them.
Yes, Commissioner P., you are recognized.
People that own property where the road name is proposed to be changed, how's that going to affect their deeds if they have an explanation, frontage on Shores Road or whatever? If you change that name, what's that going to make them have to do?
Well, they will have to, there will be some address changes that will be tied in with this. And those property owners are aware that this is happening. They've had a lot of meetings about it on site, as well as I think they've been to the city council a few times to some of those meetings to express some of their concerns. And right now, my understanding and my impression is that all of their concerns have been addressed.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Brooks, so you need a motion from us to, that basically says something like we need to
move the city-county maintenance agreement on Shores Road to the full commission.
Full commission for approval.
Approval for the mayor's signature.
All right. Yeah. Do I hear a so moved?
So moved.
Second.
All right.
Can we fix Rocky Fork while we're...
Typically.
Commissioner Blair,
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd,
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Commissioner P.,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherino,
Yes.
Chairman Cush.
Yes.
Well, that's all I have. If anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them, or
All right,
I'll get out of your way so you can finish it up.
sounds good. See you next time.
Again.
All right, Tanya, building codes report.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
All right, so building codes issued a total of 322 building permits in the month of September. 72 of those 322 were single-family dwellings for a total revenue of $121,212. We did a little over 10,000 miles last month, and 1,630 inspections. And if nobody has any questions, I'll move on to development tax. Anybody? Development tax, we collected a total of $509,250.
Which is up considerably from August. About on par from July, but up considerably from August. All right.
Right, and zoning enforcement, we did 176 inspections in September.
76. Okay. And it looks like the majority of those were re-inspections, and then looks like illegal signs. Kind of the typical violators.
Yeah.
Open storage, tall weeds and grass. All right. And okay, and this is a good reminder. It looks like weeds or grass have to be at least 15 inches high before codes gets involved.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. All right, any questions for codes?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
just, Tanya, it looks like the development tax is down to 15, 16 levels. Am I seeing it right?
Sorry.
Last year, this month, we were 745. The previous year, this month, 7.25. Prior to that, 859.5. Just 756. So it seems like we're a lower September than we've had the last 5 years. Just thoughts?
Certainly, yeah, it's trended, but this year has been so unpredictable. I don't even want to venture to guess why. The numbers are down, but our building permits are on track for the same as last year. We're on track about the same time last year. We're right at about the same as we were then.
Only 100,000 difference in total cumulative compared to last year, which is
Yeah.
Any other questions for Tanya and codes or building report?
Motion to approve a report.
All right. We have a motion to approve.
Second.
And a second from Commissioner Blair.
Commissioner Dodd,
yes.
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner Blair,
Yes.
Chairman Cush.
Yes. Anything you need from us, Tanya? Okay.
So much.
Thank you. All right, Doug. This will be the planning and engineering report.
Sure, thank you, and good evening, Commissioners, Mayor Ketron, and those in attendance in the seats out there. Just have our normal report that we have today. We have, first of all, on your iPads, you'll see the available lot inventory through September of this year. Our available lot inventory stands right now at 813. Again, those are lots that are available for permitting right now. So that's down, as you can see, actually from last month, which is not on here, but last month about 50 from last month. And when you look at this total from this time last year, it's down about 250 or so. I was looking at the chart that I keep up with back in my office, and it looks like September of 2019 was kind of a high point when it comes to the available lots. Since that time, it's really kind of taken a downward trend over the last year. Maybe not straight, but for the most part, it's trending down right now. So we're still seeing quite a bit of building activity. We did see a slowdown around the first few months of COVID when all that was ramping up. But for instance, this last Planning Commission meeting that we just had, last week, was our Plats and Plans meeting during the day, and we had probably the most submittals that we consider at the Planning Commission at that meeting that we have in several years. We actually had about 15 final plats, 3 site plans, some preliminary plans, so it was a very robust meeting that we had. So with that, is there any questions on the available lot inventory? All right, if not, I will move into our rezoning report. We have 3 requests that'll be coming before you at next week's meeting. We actually considered 4 zoning applications at the Planning Commission's meeting last month. However, one of them that was recommended denied, they went ahead and just withdrew the application. So that was the one that was on the corner of Florence Road and Old Nashville Highway. So they're not going to pursue that to the County Commission. This first application, however, this is for some property located along Burnt Knob Road. They're asking for a zoning to office professional. This property actually came before the Planning Commission and County Commission back in 2018. Excuse me. Yes, the original request that was considered a couple years ago actually came as the result of zoning enforcement. The applicant was running a business from the property. He was trying to get the property rezoned in order to continue running the business. Ultimately, that request was recommended denied by the Planning Commission, and then further, it was officially denied by the Board of Commissioners, again, back in 2018 at their April 2018 meeting. Since that time, the applicant has been, he cleaned up the site, and he's been trying to rent the property. He came into our office a month or so ago, relayed to us that he's having a difficult time renting the property as a house, and thinks it would be better if it were zoned for a commercial type occupancy. So he was asking for an office professional zone, which is more restrictive than the commercial zones, in order to operate an office and maybe some mini warehouses. Mini warehouses are allowed by special exception in the office professional zone, and there is a concept plan that's in your iPads if you want to take a look at that. When he came in, we chatted about it prior to him making an application, and I told him even at that time that I didn't think things out in that area really had changed much over the last couple years, and I didn't feel that it would get a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission. He went ahead and applied anyway, which is his right. So the Planning Commission did have a public hearing. And he did speak at it. Most of the discussion on the item focused on the surrounding uses and the zoning in the area, also the proximity of the property to I-840. There have been some industrial rezonings in the area, but they're all closer, really adjacent or right across the street from the Rogers Group quarry. After discussion, the Planning Commission did recommend denial by a vote of 9 for and 1 against due to the location of the property and the timing of the request. Speaking with the applicant following the meeting, he did want to go ahead and move it forward to the Board of Commissioners, so just be aware that this is coming before you with a recommendation for denial from the Planning Commission. The second item that was recommended to move forward by the Planning Commission was for property located, along Old Lebanon Road, north of the Griffith Park subdivision. This is for a piece of property that's approximately 37 acres in size. The applicant is looking to zone the property to a planned unit development in order to develop the Griffith Cove subdivision. Griffith Cove will contain 81 residential lots for a density of about 2.21 units per acre. Minimum lot size is 7,800 square feet, with home rent sizes ranging anywhere from 1,800 to 2,700 and maybe some more than that. Minimum lot width is 60 feet for these lots. We did ask the applicant to place a chart in the pattern book, and their pattern book is on your iPads as well if you want additional information. When you compare this, what they're proposing, with the existing Griffith Park development right to the south, it's really just a continuation of the Griffith Park development. So As far as the development itself was concerned, I mean, we had some concerns about the design, but we've worked through those. Development parameters are like those approved with Griffith Park. Traffic improvements have already been installed along Lebanon Pike, both at the intersection of Cutoff Road and then also I think it's Malcolm Drive, Malcolm Way into the Griffith Park subdivision itself. There's turn lanes already there. There was little discussion on this item. There was some question about maintenance of an existing cemetery on the property, and it was confirmed that the development's HOA would be responsible for maintaining that existing cemetery. The Planning Commission did recommend approval by a unanimous vote on that item. Our last of the 3 rezonings coming before you next week will be property located along Miller Road, south of Epps Mill Road. The applicant is asking for a planned unit development in order to operate, continue and expand and operate a mulch facility on the property. Just a little bit of background and history on this particular property. It comes as a result of zoning enforcement on the property. The applicant does own an existing business located directly to the west of the subject property, Benchmark Companies, and they received a zoning approval of that several years back in 2013, and they are currently operating the business. They had an approved site plan. The applicant, however, began using the subject property, that's the subject of this rezoning, for mulch storage at some point after his business was already in operation on the adjacent property. We told him he was in violation because that property wasn't zoned. So he submitted a zoning application to the Planning Commission originally for the EAC district, which stands for Employment and Activity Center. That was deferred in order to allow him to do a planned development. Staff did have some concerns with that development and the zoning that he was asking for, and he came back about a year ago with a PUD application, which was considered by the Planning Commission, where it was deferred to give us and the applicant some more time to review the pattern book and to applicant to make any necessary changes that needed to be made to the pattern book. Again, a copy of the most recently revised pattern book is on your iPads for your consideration and reference tonight. The pattern book does show the property in question as well as the proposed use and proposed buffering. That was one of the bigger concerns that we had on that particular application. Overall, we do have mixed feelings on the application. This property, his original property was zoned back in 2013, and we've been having issues with him as far as performance goes. All that being said, we don't believe that this property is ever going to develop in a single-family manner. Considering the location of where it is, a lot of Miller Road, which is on the west side of I-24, there's a lot of EAC zoning that's already there. We think the planned development approach is the best way to get him into compliance with what he's supposed to be doing on that property. There was discussion on the applicant's past performance and the condition of the property. There was also questions regarding the new site plan for the property, which will be required if it is rezoned, and accountability questions as well. It was not a unanimous vote for approval, to recommend approval, but following discussion, it was recommended for approval by a vote of 8-4 and 2 against. So those are the 3 applications we have coming before you next week. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Chairman,
Yes, sir, you're recognized.
back to the Burnt Knob Road project,
Burton.
it was a unanimous denial or one?
I believe
Nine-
one person did not go along with the denial. I think it was 9-1.
And he's across the street from the quarry?
Well, no, he's
Not
further
directly
down.
across, but
Right,
he's
he's
south.
further, yeah, he's south, he's on the south side of the
And
Burnt
west
Knob.
of the quarry,
Correct.
towards
Yes, sir,
Almaval Road.
that's right.
And y'all feel like that the property around him will go residential?
Well, most of it already is.
The
property right
suburban
around-
residential runs up from the east
Correct.
towards
Right.
him.
Right next to his property to the west, there's a church, but then right directly across the street, and as you continue further to the west on Burnt Knob Road, it's pretty much all residential houses.
Doug, is this the deep rock cut project or no?
No, sir, this is across the street from that and to
Okay.
the west. No, it's not.
Okay.
It's something different.
Chairman,
Yes, you're recognized, Mr. Blair.
Miller Road, there's been some compliance issues in the past
Yes.
with the PUD do you feel like that will give you the authority to hold feet to the fire?
I think so. It's because at that point, it's not even just a codes compliance issue with something. It's also a zoning issue. So I think we have more teeth to go after him with at that point. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Any other discussion? All right, do we want to make a motion to approve the reports up to now, or want to wait till we hear them all?
Actually, that's everything I have.
That is everything?
So, yes,
Okay,
sir.
I thought you had
I'm
one
finished.
more. Okay.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Robert P., and will you second?
Second.
All right. We'll get Robert on the books. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Mr. Piercy,
Yes.
Mr. P.,
Yes.
Mr. Sereno,
Yes.
Mr. Blair,
Yes.
Mr. Dodd,
Yes.
Chairman Cush.
Yes. All right. Done? All right. All right. Well, let's see. We're almost done. Mac, this will be our landfill report.
Evening. How are y'all this evening?
Good.
As you can see on the landfill report, the landfill's still not real busy. We still have some brush coming in, and we still have some tires. We'll let you know that we are experiencing a tire issue that the other counties have been experiencing for quite some time. Our service providers had a hard time keeping up. But I was out there this morning, and they actually showed up with a trailer. So what happens when they can't keep up and the trailers are all full, then we have to turn the tires away. We don't have a place to store them. But we did get another trailer this morning, so that should alleviate some of that for a little while. And the landfill did get bush hogged. So if you go on the tour, well, some of you went today. If you go on the tour today or tomorrow, you should be able to see that our landfill looks a whole lot nicer than it has been. Any landfill questions? Convenience centers have still stayed rather busy. Haley Road is staying real busy. Haley is the only thing open on Mondays and Thursdays. So all the recycle and goes there that would normally go other places if they want to do it on Monday or Thursday. And we still have a lot of people trying to bring actual garbage there. They don't read the information closely enough, and they get turned away. But the cardboard container there at Haley Road last week and this week both have been going twice a day. And it's loose cardboard, it's not compacted, but we've been able to keep up with that. Schools are on fall break. Normally what happens, of course, COVID has changed a lot of things, but normally spring break and fall break, the convenience centers get extremely busy, and we've never figured out why. The only thing we can think of is, yes, son, you got your driver's license, you got the pickup truck, clean out the garage or something like that. So I don't know with COVID what's going to happen on those. And I'd like to share some good news with you. We had a new driver started 2 weeks ago on Monday, and we had another new driver started yesterday. So that will put us fully staffed on drivers. So that will help us out enormously. And if you look at the last page on the convenience centers where the totals are, we're about a 30% increase in compactor trash this month over last month, but it's a 50% decrease in open top trash. We did meet out at Walter Hill this morning. Steve, you want to talk about that or you want me to? Okay. TDOT representative met us out there. We're looking at turning the center around backwards to where we can queue a whole lot more cars. The difference would be from the street to where the first compactor is now. What we're doing is a little over 100 feet. By taking them down Landfill Road, we've already got a new gate in the back, and then bringing them back up to the compactors, that's going to be almost 700 feet. So that's 7 times the distance. We were looking at trying to do a double wide on Landfill Road coming in. Learned that we're going to have to do some engineered drawings before anybody will stripe that. So Jay and I are going to talk again tomorrow see what we can do there. But we're trying to proceed on it. They did approve our signs for the do not enter signs, but the signs for don't park on the pavement, they're not going to let us use those. They're not enforceable, but that was in their book. That's the ones we picked. Any other questions? Next, I have a budget amendment. You'll go into that?
Sure.
Budget amendment is for maintenance on trucks. We opened and awarded bids last month for our truck maintenance. It took a...
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Motion to approve his report.
All right. Sorry, Mac.
It's okay.
Commissioner Sharino,
Yes.
Commissioner Blair,
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd,
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Chairman Kush.
Yes.
We awarded the bids for truck maintenance, and they came in a lot higher than we had been experiencing in the past. Our 150-hour service is they grease the truck and they basically do a DOT inspection. Then our 300-hour service is a 150 plus they change the filters and oils and all that kind of stuff. The 150-hour service almost tripled in cost. The 300-hour service just a little more than doubled in cost. Our shop rate for our maintenance shop rate went from $48.50 per hour to $95 on one vendor, $145 on the other. And then, so at that rate, we think we're at what we're requesting is a $125,000 budget amendment out of fund balance that we're positive, almost positive, that will get us through March. And then we want to wait and see where we go from there. But we do not think this will get us through the rest of the budget year. Questions?
Your thoughts on why it went up so dramatically?
We've had a really, really sweet deal. 10 years ago, our contract is, when we put it out for bid, is a 1-year agreement with 4 1-year extensions, so it can be a 5-year agreement. When we did that 10 years ago, our contractor that we had at the time had gone out of business, so we actually sent our trucks to all the shops here in town, so everybody got a taste of what our trucks look like and you know what type of maintenance we were asking for, and we had a lot of bidders. Mac and Nashville bid at that time $49.50 an hour. The next closest one to them was $95. So we had that deal for 5 years. When that deal expired, we put it out for bid again. Mac and Nashville actually went down $1 per hour on their shop rate, and nobody else bid. This round, the first 2 rounds, Mr. Mayor, I think. First 2 rounds of bids, no bids. The first round, everybody forgot. The second round was going to be 1 bidder, but they took their bid to the city of Murfreesboro instead of here. And by the time the city called us, it was already past 4 o'clock. That bid had to be in by 4. So I had a Neely Coble called and wanted to set up a meeting, so we sat down and talked with them, and they were the second bidder. So we wound up with 2 bidders. And Neely was actually a little bit cheaper on the 150-hour service and the 300-hour service. But we're awarded for both because both of those shops stay rather busy. And that way, if one can't get to us, then hopefully the other can. Yes. No, they each have a different price. Right.
Did nobody local bid this?
No.
Were they aware of it?
It's posted in the paper and all those type of things. Now, the local ones that most people use around here, they bid the very first round 10 years ago, but they've not bid since. And one thing that's different now than what it was 10 years ago, Mac and Nashville was about the only one that had a mobile service truck to where they come to your shop or your location and do the 150s and the 300s. Now all the dealerships, pretty much all the big truck dealerships have that same service.
Mac, do you not have money in your account to cover part of this?
In the
In any
current,
other line items?
in the current budget, we had, I think it was $100,000 for it. We had some major issues with truck 18, and we just got it back for the third time. It's been down for almost 3 months off and on, and doing some engine repairs, some transmission repair, and we've spent almost $40,000 on that one truck already this budget year. So we spent, 40% of that budget already. So no, sir, we don't have money to cover it.
I was talking about in other line items, not the same line item.
Oh, we won't have that much. I mean, we could look and see where we could pull some other items, but we won't have near enough to do that. And then, like I said, I don't think this is going to be enough to get us through this budget year anyway.
Well, I'll go ahead and make a motion to send this forward to budget, but when you come to budget, please bring, any places you can pull it out of your budget.
Okay.
But anyway, I make a motion to forward this on to budget.
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Blair.
Commissioner Dodd,
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Commissioner Sherino,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Blair,
Yes.
Chairman Cush.
Yes.
I think possibly next on your iPad, you see an email.
Yes.
Okay, I know y'all haven't had really an opportunity to read that, but this is an email from a resident Sunday morning that observed another residents really giving our center attendant a hard way to go, and the center hadn't even opened yet. And then once they got inside the center, they were still, giving the center attendant a hard way to go. But the email is actually commending our employee for keeping his cool and de-escalating the process. Afterwards, after I got the email, I called Tony. He's our convenience center coordinator, and asked him to go on out there to Walter Hill to find out which employee that was and find out what happened. The end of the story is he de-escalated enough. The guy shook his hand and said he was sorry when he left.
See, I told you nice would work.
It's hard to be nice when they're talking about your lineage and your heritage. The next should be a Clean Harbors agreement.
Yes.
We did a budget amendment and all that last month, and we went through budget, and all that's been completed. Now we have the contract in hand. This contract, the Clean Harbors has been awarded the state contract, and it's also the exact same pricing as what they've given us. And in our budget amendment, if you remember, we had a $50,000 maximum. So there's a clause in the contract that where one of their employees on site will keep up with it and estimate it and try to stop collection before we get to our maximum. We are going to be busy. We're already receiving a lot of calls. Ashley McDonald's already put some information out, and we're getting a world of phone calls already. And Commissioner P, the state did send us the email list, so you'll probably get an email. There's 802 names on that email list for Rutherford County. So what I'm asking for here is that we move to make the agreement and allow the mayor to sign the agreement for the contract.
Move to approve.
Before a second, or let's have discussion, please. Get the second.
Did Shanto second? Yes. Okay, we did. I'm sorry.
A reminder that the previous year's intake would suggest 28,000 or so. So we've got a little cushion there, right, before we stop it.
Right. I'm hoping that we won't need to stop it, but I think we're going to exceed the 28. Last year we had 2 events, and the previous 3 or 4 or 5 years we've had 2 events. We're only going to have the one. So I'm anticipating that we will not double, but I think we'll probably be 75%.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. And that, Mac, that is November 7th, correct?
November the 7th at the City of Murfreesboro's Maltz facility from 8 until noon, and it is Rutherford County residents only. If you are a property owner and you rent that property to somebody else, you are not that resident, so you can't bring stuff from that piece of property. And I had a discussion with Bob Fletcher. He's with TDEC kind of over this, and he worked for Clean Harbors for a long time. And something that we'll talk about later. I need to do some more study on it, see if I even like the idea or not. But we could have they call it long-term temporary, and it's basically one of these shipping containers, 53-foot long shipping containers that they would provide for us, and we could actually collect stuff year-round in it, and then they would come do a milk run. The downside to it is you're going to have some pretty well-trained individuals to know what to do with what. Now, the difference, if you've been to the HHW, you take your commodity in and they mix it with like-type commodities that are mixable, and they put it in one big container. If we do that on site, we will not mix anything. We'll just have barrels to put containers in. We can put like-type containers in within a barrel. So like gasoline, most people want to bring their gasoline. We can, if we do that, we can take the gasoline, but we got to have the jug. We won't be able to pour them out or anything. But that's going to be a discussion for later, and that's brought on because we're willing to pay for it ourselves this time, so they're trying to get out of doing it with us. So. November the 7th from 8 a.m. until noon.
Back up and go over that residence clause you put in there.
Residents. We actually have that sign on our convenience center. If your residence, the resident that you live, the home that you live in is where you can bring the stuff from. Now, if you own other homes, that's not your residence, so you can't bring stuff from there.
So if I have rental property and Joe and Darlene moved out and left me stuff there that's hazardous, I can't bring it.
You're not supposed to, because you're not the resident now. Joe and Darlene could bring it.
What am I supposed to do with it?
Most of the time what I ask the people that call, because we only do this normally twice a year, I'm moving, so what do I do with it? Try to give it to a neighbor or try to use it. A lot of stuff that we get is still usable. We get a world of fertilizer bags that's never even been opened, pesticides and herbicides and all that kind of stuff as well.
Well, we were so worried in the past that to charge a fee, people would not bring it, and we really wanted people to bring it because we were only doing it one time a year. Now I'm a little concerned about limiting, not letting people bring it that's cleaning up a rental property.
It's for residential use only. And that rental property is actually a business. And we can have the same discussion over farmers. Farmers are a business. They also live on the farm, but the actual milk barn and all that other stuff is the business side of it.
I'm done. They're going to bring it one way or the other.
Yeah. Okay. Call roll.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd,
Yes.
Commissioner Blair,
Yes.
Chairman Cush.
Yes. All right, Matt, continue on.
I think that's all I have.
All right.
I'll have something else for me.
Anybody have any other questions or comments for Mac? All right. That leads us to other business, and that would be we need to set a date for our next solid waste committee meeting. I have it on fairly reliable sources, and I'm looking at that fairly reliable source, that Becky will have her RFI draft to a point that's worthy of discussion by midweek next week. Yeah, RFP. What did I say? Okay, my bad. So look at your calendars, and what does Wednesday the 14th look like at 5:30 for a RFP solid waste discussion meeting? Okay. Phil, Steve? Shanto, you okay? All right, go ahead and book that, Rachel, in the calendar, and if you would send out an email reminder to everybody, including Chairman Harris. But so 5:30, this room, Solid Waste Subcommittee, and Mr. Source, would you please let Becky know that that is the date and time? Thank you, sir. All right. I'm sorry? Yes, October 14th, so a week from tomorrow. Any other business discussion?
You think we could get a copy of that prior to the meeting where we could go through it all in one night?
We have a thumbs up.
Good deal.
So yes. All right. Any other discussion, business, complaints? Attaboys? All right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.